Test, test.
We can hear you, Director Donner.
Thank you.
Okay, Director Jex is about to enter this meeting. He'll be here in one moment. Okay, he's here.
Brianne?
Yes, Director Jex.
The report, the TAFRA report, it might be easier to go over my comments if we did it by phone. If I leave a copy of the draft in the box, could they make a copy that I could come back later in the day and pick up, and then you'd have, so each have a copy with my comments on?
Yes, we could do that.
Okay, why don't I plan to do that?
Okay.
Thank you.
How we doing?
We are ready.
Oh, we are?
Mm-hmm.
Director Bates here?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. He's on the phone.
Okay. Hi, Greg.
Hello.
Okay. Everybody ready? Okay. This is a regular meeting of the Moraga-Orinda Fire District Board of Directors, November 18th, 2020. And I'm going to call the meeting to order right now, and we're going to do a roll call. Ms. Holbrook?
Director Bates?
Here.
Director Donner?
Here.
Director Jex?
Here.
Director Jorgens?
Here.
President Danziger?
Here. All directors are present. Number 2 on the agenda is public comment. At this juncture, general public can comment on any closed session item that will be heard tonight, and comments may be limited to no more than 3 minutes pursuant to board policy. Is there anyone attending, do you think?
We do have someone in attendance, yes.
Okay. So we'll give it a minute to see if they want to speak on anything on the closed session. Do you want to go over how to comment?
Yes.
Okay.
If you are in attendance and you would like to submit a written comment, you can do so at info@mofd.org, and emails will be read into record by staff. If you would like to make a live comment and you're participating by the Zoom app, you will click the raised hand function or send a chat to speak. Or if participating by phone, you may dial *9 to raise your hand. Staff will unmute participants to allow comment, and participants will be unmuted in the order of hands raised.
Thank you. Okay, we'll leave this open for 1 minute, see if anybody wants a comment. And if not, we will close this session and go into closed session.
And I had started the timer.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. That concludes our 1 minute. We do not have any hands raised, and we have not received any written emails.
Okay, we're going to close the regular meeting now, and we're all going to log off and going to the closed session. And we hope to be back to reopen the regular meeting at 7 p.m. See you all soon.
Yeah, I did those on October 28th, so those won't expire until November 28th.
President Danziger, while we're waiting to call the meeting to order, I have gone ahead and put the instructions for the attendees to see how to participate during public comment.
Thank you. Yes, for anyone attending the meeting, the instructions for presenting written comments or to speak to the board is up on the screen right now. And we'll be starting momentarily. Ms. Holbrook, will you just tell me when all the directors are ready?
Everyone has arrived.
Oh, okay. See my clock here. Okay, we'll give it just a, oh, looks like it's time. Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to reconvene the meeting now. This is a meeting of the Moraga-Orinda Fire District Board of Directors. And it is our regular meeting, November 18th, 2020. I'm going to call the meeting to order right now, and we are going to do a roll call. Ms. Holbrook?
Director Bates,
Here.
Director Donner,
Here.
Director Jex,
Here.
Director Jorgens,
Here.
President Danziger.
Here. All directors are present. So item number 5 on the agenda, this is the regular agenda, is a report of closed session action. And at this time, there is nothing to report from that closed session. We'll move on to item number 6. Item number 6 is the public comment. And this is an opportunity for any member of the public to make comment on items not on the agenda. So if anybody, you can be limited to 3 minutes unless otherwise specified. And so at this point, there's instructions on the screen. If anyone would like to make any comment on any item not appearing on tonight's agenda, we'll give you 1 minute right now, starting now.
So we have received 2 written public comments that I will go ahead and read into record.
Okay, go ahead.
And then right now we do have 1 hand raised. So when I'm done reading the public comment, we will go to the hands raised.
Okay, great.
Item number 1 is from Mr. Jonathan Goodwin. I'll be tuned into a different public meeting tonight, so I'm asking the clerk of the board to read this statement in my stead. You may recall that at your last meeting, I voiced concern about the fire chief's planned absence from the district during critical part of fire season. The chief advised me to view his contract. I did so and wish to report to you on what I found. I found the board encouraging the chief to take emergency management postings up to 2 per annum, and I personally support this for all the obvious reasons. However, I also noted there was no restriction on the length of the assignments, where these fires can last for months at a time, nor was there any restriction in relation to weather conditions here in the fire district. I wish to suggest that residents of the district may, in fact, be uncomfortable with the level of risk the board is taking in this matter. As an example, I think there would be public concern if hypothetically it became known that when a wildfire broke out at home during red flag conditions, the fire chief was 4 hours away atop Podunk Mountain, showing some politician what a fire scar looks like. Possibly an event like that would be an October surprise you would rather avoid. I would ask you to revisit and tighten up this policy if you feel that would be worthwhile. I may be wrong, but I strongly suspect that voters want their fire chief available immediately during dangerous conditions. Thank you, Jonathan Goodwin.
Okay, thank you for reading that in. And I mean, just speaking from myself, I'd be open to just revisiting it when we do the chief's contract for the coming year.
Comment number 2. is from Miss Cheryl Koo. Hello, I am concerned about lack of our Moraga-Orinda fire residents, many of whom did not have the ability to receive CWS messages during the last PSPS safety PG&E mandatory shutoff in October 2020. This issue came up during the October 2020 Orinda MOFD Town Council meeting as well, and was going to be looked into. I was wondering where we stand on this messaging issue. This is of high concern that we all have another available communication mechanism to be able to know when there will be an evacuation warning and to prepare and/or an evacuation order. Many residents, I am not sure what zones or how many were not able to receive cell phone operation at all to text or call out on their cell phones for help. What is going to be done about this if the power lines are de-energized? Then can we avoid the cable and internet wiring from being de-energized as well? Or does everything need to be completely shut off? If it does need to be shut off, how many households are able to receive a signal or alert on their cell phones with not internet service? Can this be bypassed, or what are the solutions for the remedies so we can all receive the messages from CWS? Is it another control tower out of the area? Please email me to let me know you received this email message and what is being done to remedy this situation. Thank you, Cheryl Koo.
Just, I know we can't really discuss this because it's not on the agenda, but I would tell Ms. Koo, which the chief has spoken about numerous times at different meetings, is though we're concerned about, what you're talking about here. The CWS system is managed by the county sheriff's department. And so I would hope that you would also contact the Orinda Police Department because they're the ones that really interact with the sheriff. But I'm sure that in the future we will discuss this further as well, but it is the sheriff and the police.
I guess the other thing I would add to that is not only can people not receive messages that way, if they have a heart attack or need our services in some way, shape, or form, they can't contact us either.
That's true. Okay. Right.
So we have one hand raised. I am unmuting Bernie Riff.
Thank you. I have similar concerns to those raised by Cheryl Coos, and a little bit different in that I'm wondering how CWS functions during a power outage. Do they have an independent power source? Are their databases independently powered so that they can send out messages during a power outage? Obviously during these power outages, we're experiencing the reason for the power outage is because there's a fire risk, and we want to be sure that CWS is fully operational under those conditions and that people can receive those messages if it comes to an evacuation. It seems to me that this would be something perhaps for the board to consider putting on the agenda at a future meeting if that's thought to be appropriate. And by the way, I have repeatedly attempted to directly contact CWS and the sheriff's office about this issue and can't get an answer from anyone about any of these questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Riff. I know you've voiced that concern numerous times at different meetings, and I've heard you before. I would like to see it back on our agenda too, to see if maybe we can get an answer on some of these questions from the sheriff or the police as well. So
good idea.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
That concludes our hands raised, and we have not received any additional written public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to close the public comment and move on to item number 7. Item number 7 is a public hearing. It's a public hearing on failure to comply with the notice to abate order for the following property, declare property a seasonal and recurrent nuisance, and order fire chief to abate the properties. The property is CS number 20-2698, assessor parcel number 269160010. And we'll just take it from there.
Good evening, directors. The next item before you is a public hearing for failure to comply with a notice to abate of the fire code. As you know, on April 24, 2020, the district mailed out informational mailers to all parcels within the fire district to comply with the fire code. This property located at 90 Estates, we were made aware of because of a fire in the yard due to the quick, aggressive initial attack by our engine companies. They were able to suppress the fire and keep it from extending into the wildland and the vegetation next to the structure. We went out, performed an inspection, noted the violations, sent the violations a 15-day notice to the owner. We had several phone calls with the owner, even met the owner on site, walked him around the property, identifying the areas that were in violation and how to abate those. We went back for a second inspection after the 15-day notice. No work had been done. Went back again, have sent 2 different notices. We did receive a phone call this week from the property owner. We attempted on 3 separate occasions to call them back and make contact. We did not receive any return phone calls. So we are requesting that the board order the fire chief to abate the fire hazards at this property.
All right. Thank you, Fire Marshal Isaacs. So at this point, I think I'll open this to any member of the public, or if there is a representative of the property owner or the property owner is at the meeting, this is their opportunity to address the board, or anybody else who might want to address the board in the public hearing on item 7.1. So we'll keep this open for 1 minute, and it's on the screen is the instructions on how to address the board. So we haven't heard from the property owner or any representative that they were going to be at the meeting tonight, correct?
That is correct, sir. They were given, sent a letter with directions and instructions on how to be on the meeting this evening.
Okay. And just while we're waiting here, is there a structure on this property?
Yes, sir, there is.
A house, residential? And when we send notice, I know we mail notices. Do we also put a notice at the actual house? Do we deliver?
We did not on this property, sir, because we met with the property owner and we had direct contact with the property owner.
Okay. So we don't do anything like, where city red tags a property and put, actually posts it. We don't do anything like that normally.
Correct, sir. It is in the code where we can, but we try to make positive contact via
Okay.
or phone call.
So if you make positive contact, you won't necessarily put a notice at the property.
Yes, so the red tag is used more typically when we are unable to contact them. It's not a developed property. There is no one living there, and there's a address like a PO box that leads us to have a low degree of confidence we've actually reached the owner. But in this case, where the owner was aware,
okay,
and is either choosing or is choosing circumstances that are making it impossible to reach them, then we don't post the red tag.
Yeah, I remember when the property near where I live was going through this process. I think you did post it there, but there's no structures there, and the owner doesn't live in this country either. So,
Yes,
okay.
That concludes our 1 minute. We have not received any hands raised or written public comment.
Okay, I'm going to close the public comment section right now. And any comments, any discussion from directors? Okay, hearing none. I'm going to ask for a motion to declare the property a seasonal and recurrent nuisance and order the fire chief to abate the property.
So moved.
Second.
Director Jorgens, who was the second? I'm sorry. Director
John.
Jex. Director Jex. Okay, we'll call the motion.
Director Bates,
Aye.
Director Donner,
Aye.
Director Jex,
Aye.
Director Jorgens,
Aye.
President Danziger.
Aye, the motion passes unanimously. Item 8 is the consent agenda. Does any director want to pull anything from item 8.1 through 8.5?
Yes, 8.3, 8.4.
Okay. Anything on 8.1, 8.2, or 8.5 from anybody? Okay, can I get a motion to approve 8.1, 8.2, and 8.5?
So moved.
Second.
Director Jorgens, Director Donner. We'll take a vote on those.
Director Bates,
Aye.
Director Donner,
Aye.
Director Jex,
Aye.
Director Jorgens,
Aye.
President Danziger.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, item 8.3 on the consent agenda is the monthly check voucher register. Director Jex had some question.
Yes, this Glorianne, there's an item, Whitman Enterprises ambulance billing for July, about $5,000. I assume that's a monthly billing for under a contract.
Yes, Whitman Enterprises is the ambulance billing company that does all of the billings for the district. And so the district's under contract with them and we pay them a percentage each month.
So it's a percentage contract in terms of what they bill, not number of transactions.
Correct.
Has there ever been a discussion historically, I don't remember of ever bringing this service in-house?
I don't think we've ever talked about that at the board level.
Just curious, it seems to me, I mean, I assume because our ambulance billings are lower now, particularly during that July period, we pay probably what, upwards of over 60, 70,000 a year?
Yes.
Just wondered whether or not what it would take if we did bring that in-house, whether we could cut that cost significantly.
Sure, that would, I'm not aware of any department of our size that does their own billing. The few places, Novato comes to mind, that do billing, do it as a service that they offer to other agencies. That would require significant investment in additional staff and systems that we don't currently have in order to engage in billing. It's obviously medical billing is complex. It's not something we have done before, and we're certainly not staffed for it at the current time.
So it's because of the technical, not the software, it's the expertise to read charts or whatever it is and then bill?
Yes, sir. It's to determine who goes to whom the bill is sent, the follow-up to ensure that the bill is being paid by the appropriate party, figuring out where and how and in what format to send those. I'm certainly not an expert on it. We could do additional research if that's the board's pleasure, but I think it's a safe statement to say medical billing is very complex, and that's not something we're currently set up for.
This isn't medical billing, Chief. This is ambulance service billing. That's a big difference. You know, this is billing for delivering people and, you know, a few, you know, whatever we have in bandages and things that we, you know, and drugs and things. But, you know, have we negotiated the price with them? And do we pay them on success, or do we pay them on billing or on, you know, on receipts?
It's based on percentage of revenue. And we did obtain, there's other companies that do provide this services. And we did get a bid from another company. So it was before Chief Winokur came that we did. So it has been several years since we have put it out to bid.
I just think it's something maybe not necessarily a priority, but I would think it's something we ought to take a look at.
Yes, sir.
Maybe we can address it like in a future agenda item. We can put it on and talk about it, get a staff report on it.
The other, there's two invoices for West Coast Code Consultants.
Yes, sir. That's WC3. That's when we eliminated the part-time plans examiner position. We contracted with WC3 to provide services as needed to fill that position, or fill the code check and the inspection element having to do with building code items, or fire code as it applies to building code. So we are using them in lieu of the part-time position that we eliminated this year.
Is this a once a year event?
No, sir. This is, I mean, I think we're at 8 to 10 plans per week come in right now. And there are a significant number of required inspections that require technical expertise that resides within the code compliance officer that they're filling out. So 8 to 10 sets of plans per week, give or take, as well as the on-site inspection elements.
Are our fees that we charge to people to review their plans roughly being covered? Are our costs being covered by the fees we get in?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're not absorbing a loss to inspect people's plans.
Good.
Okay,
Great.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, sir. Just last item on this, as we've previously discussed, the advantage of our current system using WC3, particularly over the last 6 months or so, where we've seen extreme fluctuations in the volume of plans, both down and up. By using a contracted provider, it naturally indexes to the volume of plans. When there's lots of plans, we use a lot of their services. When there are no plans, as there were in March and April, and as well as into May, we weren't paying any bills to WC3 because there's no work for them to do.
That's great.
Okay.
Good idea.
The other one on the 8.4, the financial.
Wait. Before we move on, let's finish 8.3. I have a couple of questions on 8.3 as well. So Chief, just because I like to stay informed on operations and what, what's going on in the fire district, can you just tell me what helium and nitrogen are used for? Just so I know.
Helium is largely our balloon for our balloon filling tank for the open houses. Obviously, that's not something we've been doing a lot of lately.
Okay. There's a check that says helium, nitrogen, and oxygen. I understand. I was going to ask about helium and nitrogen.
I'm not aware that we use either. I'll certainly follow up and find out, but that may very well just be how it's coded as classes of gas.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I saw one other place where it's listed, but it only says oxygen. So I was curious about nitrogen and helium.
I'll find out.
Okay. Okay. And one other thing that I noticed as well, do we provide flu shots to all our members?
We did.
Is that part of a contract under annual medical that we provide flu shots?
I'll let Christine speak to that. Typically, it would be included. However, because of the delays we've seen with with COVID and all the other concerns, and the importance of flu shots this year, brought our provider in for on-site flu shots. But I'll let Christine speak, as she's been the driving force on providing the service.
Yes, so Chief is correct. So normally it would go through their annual physical, but because of the circumstances of this year, I hosted a flu shot clinic for all personnel, safety and non-safety, to come in. We did it over 3 days for anyone that wanted a flu shot to come in and receive their flu shot.
Okay, and it's so that's usually, I'm hearing you say it's usually included as part of their annual physical, and we pay for it, and this is just separate this year.
Correct.
Okay, good enough. Okay, anything else on 8.3 before you move on? Okay, Director Jex, 8.4.
You're on mute, John.
Unmute. There's strike team revenue, Lorianne, of 560,000. So I assume that is only a portion of the revenue. because we got strike team overtime over $1 million, 34,000. And I know there, obviously, when we budgeted those items, we don't budget what it's probably a good guess at the time when we do it. So it's not the budgeted number for those items. Really, it doesn't relate. But question, I assume that my assumption is correctly that there's another $500,000-600,000 of billings that are not been processed, or have they been processed, just not collected?
Lauren, you mind if I?
So what happens, the process is that the firefighter goes on the strike team. The district pays the person via overtime and incurs the costs. And then there's a lot of paperwork from the state that has to get processed from the state. And then eventually the state sends us an invoice. And then that is at that point, then we know how much money we're going to be reimbursed. And then we record the revenue then. So there is a delay from the overtime expense to the actual strike team revenue because we have to wait for the state.
And
Okay.
Just to summarize that, sir, so far, as of today, we have in personnel charges, we have a total of 1.326. So $1,326,636.69 that we have either have been invoiced or it is pending return of the state's acknowledgement of that invoice. On top, with all of that comes together, plus when added with $272,600.65 worth of vehicle charges, that's both for the trucks and the apparatus. All of that gets added up over the 782 personnel days or person days we've had out. All of that generates an admin surcharge of $568,391, which is essentially the fee we receive on top of the of what we've already paid, as Glorianne referenced. So the total float here is 2.167 million, of which 568 of that is admin surcharge. So while there is a significant delay, it's a temporary delay having to do with the fact that we pay the members for the period that they worked, and then there is a lag while we wait for the state to settle the bill, if you will. But we believe they're good for it.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I assume that was correct. I mean, these numbers weren't the final numbers, and but they were quite different. And so I just was curious in terms of the timing and the magnitude. It sounds like what we recover in terms of administrative fees should be substantial.
Yes, sir. It's been a very busy year. As I said, 782 days aggregate man day or person days for our members being out. It adds up very quickly on a year like this one.
Chief, just one, I understand how the personnel side of all that works and the trade-offs. How do we keep track of what happens with the equipment costs? In other words, we put more miles on them, we take more oil changes, more tires, all kinds of fun things. So how do we keep track of that? Are
you referring to increases in maintenance costs, sir?
Yes.
So we don't. And I say that with the caveat that if something is broken on the incident, it's repaired at the incident, if it's attributable to the incident, right? If you show up with a set of bald tires, they're not going to replace your tires. But if something happens incident related, it's either repaired or you're given an S number that pays for the repair upon your return. With regard to wear and tear, sort of increase in annual things, because of the compact nature of our district, we don't put that many miles on our rigs on a regular basis. And as we've talked about before, there's a baseline of maintenance, having the annual maintenance that they go in for, whether they're driven at all. So our maintenance schedule assumes a level of use, but you would have to significantly exceed the level of use before the maintenance schedule would be changed. And if you don't meet there is no minimum floor. Right? There isn't a point that if you have driven less than a certain number of hours, the rig gets to skip that year's annual maintenance. So we don't, from a practical matter, while we may slightly accelerate the time at which the rig would have to be replaced, it just doesn't add up over the 20-year life cycle of a frontline engine. And so for all practical purposes, sending the engines out, we bill. It's pretty significant pricing, especially for the engines based on pump size. But we don't incur any what I think would be trackable level of increased costs for the maintenance, because the use is still below the threshold, significantly below the threshold, where you would move up to a higher level of maintenance. As in, we're required to do a level of maintenance that we're not exceeding the threshold that would need increasing of that level based on the strike team activity.
So I guess where I was heading with that's a great answer. So where I'm heading though is that means we should segregate out the money we get from that, because it's not necessarily a recurring revenue stream.
Understood. We certainly could do that and be obviously receptive to the board's direction to do that. And then that, I mean, there are a number of places that could logically be placed, to include the capital funds project, where eventually future engines will be purchased from.
But we should at least just keep track of how much that is, that and the whatever the spread, whether it's the overhead or I guess maybe that's the only thing we get. But I'll call it I know it's not literally profit, but the extra cash we get from these, the work that we do outside the district. I think we should segregate the monies that we get from that, so we can know, again, because it's not, if we had a year that we didn't have any fires, which would be wonderful in a whole lot of ways, we also wouldn't have any of that extra revenue.
Yes, sir, I agree.
Question, Glorianne, what's the process? Who's responsible for capturing the information for the billing and processing the billing? What are the systems that, I mean, it's normally not something that would be part of our normal systems and controls, since it's an event-driven issue.
So when a firefighter goes on a strike team, then that is authorized through have to get approval from the fire chief, which then flows to the battalion chief. So at that point, the battalion chief logs when someone goes on a strike team. And so then we all know, plus it's also logged into what we use Telestaff, which is our timekeeping system. So we know who and what dates and times that people are on strike teams. So then once the person goes on the strike team, and then they come back with the appropriate paperwork, which then we continue to update into our tracking system.
So that handles the labor. How about the other items?
What other items?
The equipment.
The equipment and...
So same thing. So when the battalion chief authorizes a team to go, then the equipment that goes is entered as well into our logging system.
So it's that logging system. And so who in the department handles that, the billing?
So then that is also handled on the F-42, which is the state paperwork. That includes the apparatus that went. And so whether it was a type 1 engine or type 3 or what it was, if it was a pickup truck, that's all logged and approved on the F-42 form. And so that is what's turned into the state. And that is what the state reimburses us based on what's on that F-42.
To answer your question of who, sir, Mary Smith handles all of the tracking of it, both the internal tracking and then the external communication with OES.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions from the board regarding item 8.3 or 8.4?
I move we approve 8.3 and 8.4.
I second.
Thank you, directors, and thank you, both directors, for those questions. They were very perceptive and helped improve my understanding of both these items. So we have a motion on the floor, but I haven't opened up this to a public comment right now. So we'll just hold the motion for just a moment, and we'll open it for 1 minute as we see if there's any public comment on items, anything under item 8, 8.1 to 8.5. Probably not, but we will see.
I think we ought to play the Jeopardy music during this.
I think so too.
Sorry.
We have not received any hands raised, and we do not have any written public comment.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to close the public comment on item 8. And we have a motion on the floor. Can we take a vote?
Director Bates? Let me see if he's still on here. Director Bates?
Sorry, Marcia. Director Bates is on a call and has dropped off the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Director Donner?
Yes.
Director Jex?
Yes.
Director Jorgens?
Yes.
President Danziger?
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. And just to confirm real quick, that was motioned by Jorgens and seconded by Jex.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item 9 is 9.1. That is approval of agreement for special services with Liebert Cassidy Whitmore to provide labor negotiation services and appoint Donna Williamson as lead negotiator. Staff? Hello, staff. You gonna, who's speaking on this?
Apologize. I got my my
Okay.
pile here. This double-sided has got me turned around.
Okay.
I found it. Sorry, directors. Good evening, directors. The district's memorandums of understanding with the United Professional Firefighters of Contra Costa County, IAFF Local 1230, and with the Moraga-Orinda Fire Chiefs Officers Association expire on June 30th, 2021. Per the MOU with Local 1230, the deadline to meet and negotiate ground rules is December 31st, 2020, and the deadline to commence negotiation is March 1st, 2021. Recommendation is to discuss, deliberate, and approve the agreement for special services with Liebert Cassidy Whitmore to provide labor negotiation services and to appoint Donna Williamson as lead negotiator. Attached is the special services agreement for the board's review and approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief. I think I'll just open this up to public comment right now. If there's any member of the public that would like to speak on item 9.1, which is the approval of the agreement for labor negotiation, lead negotiator, this is your opportunity. You have 1 minute to comment. Do, 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 do. There you go. How's that, Craig? In honor of Alex Trebek.
That was pretty horrible.
Yeah.
That concludes our 1 minute. We do not have any hands raised and we have not received any written public comment.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion amongst directors on this approval of the agreement?
I move we approve item 9.1.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we got a motion by Director Jorgens and a second by Director Donner. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Okay. Director Bates, I'm assuming is still absent. Director Donner,
Aye.
Director Jex,
Aye.
Director Jorgens,
Aye.
President Danziger.
Aye, motion carries. Item 9.2 is approval of a resolution 20-15, a resolution of the Moraga-Orinda Fire District requiring insurance company compliance with the Public Resources Code and Government Code.
Good evening, directors. The next item before you is approval of resolution 20-15. requiring insurance companies to comply with the relevant codes, Public Resource Code, Section 4290, or correction, 4291, and Government Code, Section 51182. On several occasions this year, district staff was approached by residents and made aware by residents that they felt their insurance companies were requiring fuel reduction work or defensible space that was in excess of our local fire code. Staff has researched the issue and identified relevant elements of the government code and the public resource code. I'd also like to add that the residents, when they contacted us, also stated that they felt that their failure to comply on their part with their insurance company might end up in their homeowner's insurance being canceled or not renewed. So working with district council, staff has identified relevant portions of the government code and public resource code. Government code section 51182A3 states the following: shall apply to local responsibility areas. An insurance company that insures an occupied dwelling or occupied structure may require a greater distance than required under paragraph 1 if a fire expert designated by the fire chief or the fire official from the authority having jurisdiction provides findings that the clearing is necessary to significantly reduce the risk of transmission of flame or heat sufficient to ignite the structure, and there is no other feasible mitigation measures possible to reduce the risk of ignition or spread of wildfire to the structure. The greater distance may not be beyond the property line unless allowed by state law, local ordinance, rule, or regulation. Public Resource Code section 4291A1C3 states the following shall apply to state responsibility areas. An insurance company that insures an occupied dwelling or occupied structure may require a greater distance than required under paragraph 1 if a fire expert designated by the director provides findings that the clearing is necessary to significantly reduce the risk of transmission of flames or heat sufficient to ignite the structure, and there is no other feasible mitigation measure possible to reduce the risk of ignition or spread of wildfire to the structure. The greater distance may not be beyond the property line unless allowed by state law, local ordinance, rule, or regulation. This resolution is being recommended in order to increase the awareness of the government code and public resource code regulations as they pertain to insurance company requirements. Staff recommends the discussion, deliberate, and approve resolution 20-15.
Thank you, Fire Marshal. Just before we go into the public comment, because I just want to make sure that I'm clear on this and that any member of the public and all the other directors are clear on this. I heard what you said. I read the material, but I just wanted to be in some verbiage, that simple verbiage that we can all understand. So
If I may,
you do that, just give it to us simply what this is doing.
Okay, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
We had a resident in Orinda contacted us and said that she was being required to remove 3 oak trees on her property and asked us to come out and take a look. She felt they weren't a fire hazard. We went out, inspected her property. Her property complied with our fire code. The oak trees in question were away from the structure, I believe greater than 10 feet. There was no ladder fuels. The grasses were removed. There was no way for a ground component of fire to transition into the tree. So the requirement of the insurance company to remove the 3 trees in excess of our fire code, or this resident might not have their homeowner's insurance renewed, was of concern to us, because where's the fire expert? A lot of times the insurance company's staff is not fire experts or retired firefighters. So what expertise do they have to tell us, the agency having jurisdiction, that this homeowner needs to exceed the fire code? So all we're doing here is requiring or advising the insurance companies. We want them to comply with these 2 government code sections and public resource code sections. and start a dialogue with us and tell us, we need to identify who the fire expert is and what are their findings as to the need of this. That's all we're requiring. We're not restricting the insurance company's ability to insure or not insure clients.
If I may, Director Danziger, I think in simple terms, it would be the government, the code requires, the state in this case, requires that there be one set of standards within the jurisdiction. That set of standards is established by the fire district. And in passing our affirmation of this, we're increasing awareness of the simple requirement that the Moraga-Orinda Fire District is the agency having jurisdiction within this area, and the fire code and the compliance that we have promulgated both through our outreach and through the fire code and all those other things, that is the standard by which homes will be judged. And that if there is if someone believes additional work needs to be done, that needs to be done in conjunction with the fire district in order to reduce the confusion that could be generated by having de facto multiple sets of standards being applied within the jurisdiction.
Okay, so in the case that the fire marshal was talking about, does the district provide some documentation to the property owner or to the insurance company saying, we've looked at it and it complies with our code?
Not precisely, sir. In this case, it's the district says these are the standards that apply within the jurisdiction. And the insurance company is certainly able to come out and take a look at the home and determine if it complies with our standards. But what the insurance company is not able to do is apply an arbitrary set of standards that differ from the fire code.
Okay.
Was this a true scenario with these 3 oak trees in this?
Yes, sir. No, we both looked at the letter. I believe it was from the Hartford.
Yep. And so what happened was her insurance, she got to keep the 3 trees, I assume. And did she also get to keep her same carrier?
I believe she's with a different carrier at this time.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the key is that we're telling the insurance companies they should follow the rules, but I think the rules are probably, there are a lot of other things, excuses they can have to cancel the insurance, and therefore they can just be arbitrary and say, well, I'm not telling you I canceled because you didn't cut down the 3 trees. I'm just telling you I canceled.
Yes, sir. That's absolutely correct. A private for-profit entity is under no obligation to offer insurance to anyone they don't feel like insuring. But we want to make sure they're following the rules. In this case, the rules say they can drop for any other reason. They just can't drop for this one.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. That made it more understandable to me. So we can have more discussion, but I'll open up the public comment right now. So any member of the public that would like to speak on item 9.2, now is your opportunity. You'll have 1 minute to contact us in one of the ways on the screen.
We have not received any written public comment, and we do not have any hands raised.
Okay, I'm going to close the public comment.
I move we approve item 9.2.
Okay, motion by Jorgens,
I'll second.
second by Donner. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll call vote on the motion.
Director Bates, Director Donner,
Aye.
Director Jex,
Aye.
Director Jorgens,
Aye.
President Danziger.
Aye, the motion carries unanimously for the 4 of us. Item number 10 is committee reports. I'm not aware of any committees meeting. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I don't think we can just go. I don't think we have, I don't really think we even have to open this. Council, do we have to have public comment?
No.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 11, announcements. 11.1 is brief information only reports related to meetings attended by a director at district expense. Anything?
None.
Nope.
Next.
We'll move on. 11.2, questions and informational comments from board members and staff.
Next.
Nope. Okay. 11.3, fire chief updates.
Good evening, sir. We'll start with human resources.
Oh, okay. Christine?
Directors, first off, I want to make sure that everyone has received their MOFD ID cards.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
okay. Great.
Some of us need new pictures, but yes.
Yes, President Danziger, I did order you a new card, so that should be coming soon.
Okay.
Yes. All right, here we go. I have a brief HR update tonight. The preparation for the battalion chief exam continues and will be posted on December 8th. We have secured 4 outside raters at the rank of battalion chief or higher to assist us with this process. It is anticipated that the appointment of the new battalion chief will occur in the beginning of December 2020. Secondly, I have begun.
Christine, wait, before we move on, is the application process closed now to submit?
It closes on December 1st.
Okay.
And how many people have signed up?
None at this point, but typically, well, historically, candidates.
You're anticipating a few.
Yeah, candidates apply at the very last minute.
Sure.
So,
We're anticipating
Right.
3.
Okay.
right.
I just one question. I just have a question on that.
Mhm.
I'm just thinking about it right now. What happens if only one person puts in? They still go through the process? I'm just curious. I don't know. And it never happened to me when I was in your position. I just wondered. Was it a small
Right.
department?
It past agencies that I've worked for, we've had personnel roles that defined what happened. But here, I don't think that we have a definition of what happens in that situation, unless Chief can speak to that.
No, sir. If that happened, we'd circle the wagons and figure it out. But we're
Okay.
confident we're going to have at least 3 applicants for
Okay.
this.
Oh, fine. I'm just curious. Okay.
Yes. So so I'm anticipating more than one candidate to apply.
All right.
And then secondly, I've begun the process of scheduling the annual firefighter physicals. So this year we're giving personnel the option to be seen for 3 different providers. So one is Kaiser Occupational Medicine. The other is OcuMed, our third-party administrator. And then the other is the last is the employee's own personal physician. So that is being processed now.
Are we doing that because we're in the pandemic times? Is that?
Yes, sir. We're really trying to explore every way we can to decrease the number of times people have to enter different facilities under different circumstances. Typically, we would send a crew, an engine all together. Obviously, in the current environment, there's a lot of reasons not to do that. We were able to identify a no-cost option to allow members to get a appropriate physical, a firefighter physical through their personal physician, and are offering that as an additional option this year.
Okay, and so if they go to a non-district annual physical, do they go in there with a document that says what needs to be done?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So they have a packet that contains the NFP standards of the physical and all of the documents that the physician needs to complete and to and for the district to receive back.
Okay, great.
And that concludes my update for tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Christine, Fire Marshal.
Good evening, directors. Currently, we still have 97 open cases for the exterior hazard abatement compliance. Letting those work through the process. We've received 41 realtor requests for the new portion of the fire code that to the transfer of real property. We go out and make sure the home is compliant with the fire code. We've also completed our mandatory inspections for St. Mary's College. We're transitioning to the schools within the district. And we also are completing the last of the work from the Moraga-Orinda shaded fuel break. As you remember, last month you approved the upping of the contracts for our 2 contractors that originally worked on the fuel break to do this work. And as you can see on your screen, here's a picture of the work that was being conducted on Happy Valley Road. So we knocked out a section of Happy Valley Road between Sundown Terrace and Orinda View. We also removed trees at Sleepy Hollow Swim and Tennis, and we are completing the tree removal at Wagner Ranch Elementary School this week.
Great.
Report.
Hey, one question on the fuel break and taking down trees, because I just remember way back I had some inquiries about some large eucalyptus tree, at least one, that was part of near Wagner Ranch School, but I think it was really on the property of the nature area.
Yes, sir. There are 2 large eucalyptus.
Yeah.
It's owned by Wagner Ranch. It's in the nature area. Those are probably $20,000 trees.
Yeah.
Given the fact that they're not near anything, and that the dead or dying Monterey pines that were overhanging the single exit route from the school, we prioritize those with our available funds. We also put fire on the ground on Monday in the nature area as part of our ongoing plan to reduce not only the amount, the volume of vegetation there, but also to restore landscape to the fire as part of a teaching, or fire to the landscape, excuse me, as a teaching tool in the nature area, while also reducing the intrusion of non-native invasive species.
Great, thank you.
Just to emphasize on the Happy Valley work, we did want to acknowledge the support of the city of Orinda, who for the city council required action in order to get the road closure that made this work possible, and we appreciate their support. As you can see there, a tremendous amount of material was removed. We anticipate being able to get in there in future years now that the canopy's been lifted, and put fire on the ground as a way to maintain that along, specifically on the western shoulder, the downhill side. We're continuing at Wagner Ranch over the next couple of days. We had a prescribed fire plan on Tuesday for Painted Rock, which was called off. We're getting 25-mile-an-hour winds. Prescription caps out at 15-mile-an-hour winds. We're out of prescription, unable to burn. We'll continue to work with Bay Area Air Quality to take advantage of the limited weather window from an air quality PPM standpoint to get more fire on the ground in this window. And then we're gearing up for our winter burning season, where we will be putting fire to piles that were built earlier this year. Well, really the trigger for that is when we start to see the first new growth of grass coming up, so some green sprouts. When we start to get to that point, we'll start burning those piles. We're also going to be working to use our TerraTorch on standing coyote brush. Obviously, the material handling component of burning it and standing is significantly reduced. So you see a much lower investment as far as manpower required to cut and stack if we can burn it standing. So that's not something we've done before. We're not aware of others who have done that. So we're going to be moving into that slowly. We have some targeted areas to give it a try and see if it works and how well it works. And then as we figure that out, and as we get the sort of the formula dialed in, we look to rapidly expand that because encroaching coyote brush into those grasslands is one of our primary concerns for a fire spread perspective. With regard to COVID-19, as I'm sure all of the directors and any members of the public who are present are aware, we're seeing a significant upsurge in COVID-19, not only in the county and the state, but nationwide. That continues to be of concern. We are continuing to provide resources and encourage the adoption of all of the best science when it comes to disease transmission precautions, both internally for members of the district, between not only between members, but between stations, between shifts, as well as the two-way concern about transmission with the public, both our members being exposed by the public and the public being exposed by our members and our equipment. So we continue on that front. We did a check just this week with our PPE levels. We are well stocked. In addition to other things that Grant, we recently were able to expend. We've got over 4,000 masks on hand and additional orders on the way. So I believe we're well positioned for what should be a pretty significant uptick as we move into colder weather. And as Christine mentioned earlier, really leaning forward to prevent the twindemic element by getting our members access to flu shots. They're really trying to plan ahead for the future. And then we stay engaged with county health and with others to ensure that as vaccines come online, we're rapid in that adoption to protect the workforce and the community. End of report, barring any questions.
Hey, Chief, our last meeting, we were at 2.5 positive rate. Do you know what the county is at currently?
I'll find out while we're speaking, sir. It's over 3 though, as of today, or as of earlier this week.
So about a 20% increase.
Yes, sir. It's, I mean, the spike's dramatic. And it's, I believe San Francisco and Marin County are the only 2 in the Bay Area that have not seen that uptick. But remember, there's a significant, probably a 14-day lag. These are lagging indicators. So the numbers are, I think, are significantly worse than we're aware.
Yep. Thank you.
Hey,
And are directors allowed to use the torch?
I was going to ask that. I was going to ask that. No, I was going to ask the question is, any chance that the directors, when you do the torch at some point, you know, if they try it out, can we come and watch?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. I'd ask you let us get a couple of
Yeah.
It get a couple touches under our belt, but absolutely,
Okay.
we'd be happy to provide access.
Okay, we got to see it.
Okay, great.
Okay, 11.4 is, any questions from directors on anything under 11.3? Anything else?
Just it's 3.6% is the county positivity rate as of today.
Wow. 11.4 communications received.
No items of note, sir.
Okay, and 11.5, anything we haven't discussed anywhere on future agenda items? We mentioned a few we'd like to see, but I don't know that any of them have that we need to talk about further. Anything else?
I move we adjourn.
You know, I'd like to adjourn this meeting in the memory of Assistant Chief Sean Lappin. I was a 20-year veteran of Oakland Fire. I knew him well. Great guy, great fireman. 3 boys. His son is a rookie in Oakland. He suffered a massive heart attack while on duty Monday night. And just in honor of Sean Lappin. Thank you.
Thank you. I knew him also, and yes. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Jex, and so take a roll call vote on adjournment.
Director Bates, Director Donner,
Aye.
Director Jex,
Aye.
Director Jorgens,
Aye.
President Danziger.
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone. I think that was a record time for at least a regular meeting, and we'll see y'all. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thanksgiving.